Hello, this week let's discuss hormonal birth control and how it's more of a band-aid to your health than actually helpful for your health. There was a time not too long ago, it was actually when I was in chiropractic school, that I was considering birth control. And it was because I liked a boy a lot. And I remember the exact moment that I started talking to my mom about it. We were in the car, we were on our way somewhere, and I just remember her telling me the story of her experience with an IUD, because I was telling her how I had done all my research, how I wanted to do a copper IUD because it was low hormonal, which, looking back, I'm pretty sure the only reason they can claim it's low hormonal is because they're not actually pumping hormones into you. However, it is still effing up your hormones, because basically any of these forms of birth control, whether it is the pill or an IUD, it's still going to be challenging to your hormones. It's going to be stopping them from doing what they're supposed to do. So this week we'll talk a little bit more about the pill form of it, but a lot of these things still will apply to the IUD or other types of birth control that basically mess with your hormones. For lack of better words, because they're definitely gonna factor into how that functions and how it works. So anyways, back to the story. So I was in the car with my mom and I was telling her how I was thinking of doing the IUD because I had done all my research, how the copper IUD was low hormonal and it just seemed like the best option out there, because I wasn't looking to get pregnant at that moment and it just seemed like the best idea. So she was telling me her story of how she had an IUD before having me. It took her 8 years to conceive me after she was married to my father. And after she had me, she had many miscarriages, as well as it took her a long time to have my brother. And she honestly didn't think that she could get pregnant after this because she never had a normal period after that. So it definitely affected her hormones and how she functioned afterwards. It took her 8 years to conceive my brother between the two of us. 7 years. He's 8 years difference. And I can't imagine life without him, but he was definitely a surprise baby because she didn't think she could get pregnant. So after I heard all of these things, I was thinking, I was like, this doesn't sound right to me. This doesn't seem logical to do this to my body. I was like, so the options will be no sex. It will be to utilize condoms or other forms of birth control that were not going to affect my hormones, or the other options were going to be to really learn my cycle. So those were the moments that I kind of decided to start tracking my cycle. It's been about 10 plus years since I've started tracking my cycle. I know that my cycle is a 24 to 26 day window, 25 pretty much on average, but there are a couple times where it's 24 or 26, and that's normal for it to fluctuate with a day or two. And yeah, I never regret making that decision to, number one, not get on birth control, but also to track my cycle. And that is something that I wish more women would do, is track their cycles and know when they ovulate. So all of that to say that women go on birth control for a number of different reasons. And I have heard so many different reasons in more recent years of why women go on birth control. And a lot of the times it seems the symptoms just keep being anything and everything, and the doctor will prescribe a birth control pill because it'll solve all of the symptoms that we're having, which is nuts. Typically the common ones were not wanting to get pregnant, of course. Other ones were changes to the menstrual cycle, trying to get a regular period, menstrual cramps, and acne were typically the biggest ones that I would see in clinical practice as well as with friends growing up. And now the symptoms just seem to be anything, which is crazy to think about. And when I look up online what common birth control pill side effects are, you just Google it. You have headaches, breast tenderness, nausea, mood swings, breakthrough bleeds, weight gain, decreased libido, acne, irregular periods, missed periods, vaginal discharge, abdominal cramping and bloating, eye changes, blood clots, depression, dizziness, increased blood pressure, insomnia, skin changes, trouble breathing, and vaginal irritation, just to name a few. So that kind of just hurts my heart that women go on birth control pills, and these are your common side effects, which are also some of the things that you took the birth control pill to stop, if you will. So basically what the hormonal birth control is doing to your body is it is creating a fake period, if you will. The bleed that women get on the pill is not a true bleed, it is a pill bleed. So all the hormones that build up in your body throughout the month while you're taking the pill is what is releasing when you have that bleed. It's not a true actual menstrual bleed. And imagine women being on this pill, 13 to 14 years old, all the way until their 30s when they decide that they want to have children. It's crazy to think about how it has been affecting their hormones that entire time, because your body's not able to produce the hormones like it is supposed to. And then on top of all those other symptoms that you notice, especially the mood swings, depression, all those types of things. So it really hurts my heart to see the amount of women that are on birth control for the reasons that I listed. If you're on it for not making a baby, that's one thing. You're still gonna have a lot of symptoms, but it's sad to see women being put on it for just anything and everything at this point. So the bleed is not a true bleed, it's a pill bleed. Those buildup of hormones get released when they get released during that bleed. One of the biggest things I see that actually cause most of the menstrual cycle symptoms that most women will experience is going to be insulin resistance. So when the body is insulin resistant, it's going to cause an increase in insulin, a decrease in your thyroid function, and an increase in estrogen, which will cause an increase in the lining of your uterus, causing all these symptoms. So the heavy bleeds, the clotty bleeds, the cramps, the menstrual cramps, the mood changes, those will all be linked to that insulin resistance, which is a huge thing that I see with most of the couples and clients that I work with. Sadly, it is quite common for us to see. It's not necessarily normal. We shouldn't be experiencing these things, but with the way society is, the way that we live our lives, it is quite common to see all of this, especially with stress hormones and just all the different stressors in our life that we have. I don't know if you remember, back in 2016, there was major headlines for articles surrounding male contraceptives, and it was, I believe, a shot that they were doing in the arm for something similar to the pill for men. And the interesting thing was all these articles said the same thing, that the study was halted due to the side effects. And then there was like other articles that came out that were saying, oh, it's not true, the men could handle the side effects and all these different things. But there was, the scientists were saying that there were reasons that they decided to halt it, and it had to do with safety concerns with those side effects. Because the same side effects that men had were the same ones that women experience while on the pill. So they had acne, headaches, mild erectile dysfunction, reduced sex drive, tiredness, and weight gain were the biggest symptoms. But then the biggest ones that they were most concerned about for the safety of the men was their mood changes and depression. So I'll let that set in for a moment. Fascinating that we stopped these clinical trials because of those reasons, yet women experience those while they're on the pill. Here's what I do know and know to be true about menstruation, ovulation, and the importance of it during the reproductive years is that it makes menopausal years easier for you. You're able to maintain your bone mass easily with aging, and it decreases your chance of osteoporosis, breast cancer, and heart disease as you're aging. So it's super important to make sure that we're having menstrual cycles as well as normal ovulation during our reproductive years. One interesting thing that I saw in some of the emerging research is about pheromones and how we pick our partners. And there were studies showing that women that were on birth control before they got married, got off birth control when they were married so they could have children, found their partners to be less attractive. Now, not all, but there was a good percentage that did. So my suggestion to you this week is, if you are on birth control and you're dating to marry, maybe think about getting off birth control if you are planning to marry that person, just to make sure that you're still compatible with them. Was there anything in any of this information that shocked you? To me, it's not necessarily shocking when we see infertility on the rise. It's harder and harder for couples to conceive, especially those that have been on any type of hormonal birth control for a number of years. And it's no surprise to me when it messes with your hormones. You are not having a proper cycle for so many years, sometimes some women up to 15 years or maybe even longer that they're not having a normal cycle. So it's no surprise that we're seeing a correlation, if you will, between all of this. Some of my suggestions for you, and it's probably a topic for another day, is to know your cycle. Things to consider when you are getting off birth control are, what is your normal cycle? Is it a 21-day cycle or a 35-day cycle, or somewhere in between? And with knowing that knowledge, you can also learn where you ovulate. What time of the month do you ovulate? Should be the same day every time. And the myth that we can get pregnant any day of the year is so ridiculous. It is something that I wish we would teach women about, and men, that it's not even true. Women cannot get pregnant on their period if they have a normal, healthy cycle. They will not be ovulating on their period to be able to get pregnant. Do pregnancies happen on period? Yes, but they are ovulating at the wrong time of the month. So topics for another day. But knowing your cycle, knowing when you menstruate, and then knowing when you ovulate will be helpful for either planning to have a pregnancy or planning not to have a pregnancy, because this can go both ways, right? And please know all this information comes from a place of sharing, because I feel when you know better, you can do better. I was in the same boat where I was contemplating birth control and decided against it. And if you were in the boat that went for it, didn't know any better, there is always time to make changes to your body and make your body healthier. So this isn't a shame game. This is a knowledge game. This is learning more about your body, how it functions, and how you can best serve yourself for the future, for your future children, and help out other women on this journey, because it's all about knowledge equals power, right? So that is my hope for you. I hope you don't see this as me shaming you for any decisions you've made, because when we don't know, we don't know. And I hope you learn something from this and can benefit from it. If you are curious about how I help couples out or how I help women on their journey, please let me know. We can set up a discovery call, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.